is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
It is a chilly night once again in the windy city of Chicago. That wouldn't bother our old late great friend Harry Carey if he were doing the game tonight next door. But we are ready for a little baseball. It's game 2 of 3, the Cubs and the Reds. After the Reds had that heartbreaking loss here in the Cubs home opener on Monday night. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds baseball. All right, the good news is Alfredo Simon. You talked a little bit in the pregame. He has had great success in his career against these Cubs, and he's towing the rubber tonight.
Well, keep in mind now, this is not the same Cubs team that he had great success against starting for the Reds in 2014. But sometimes that doesn't matter. Sometimes you have a real good feel of standing on a certain mound in a certain stadium. You see the other team, and it propels you to throw a very good ball game, and he has done a lot of good games against this Cubs team.
Well, speaking of good games, John Lackey, for a long, long time, Chris, has pitched a lot of good games no matter what uniform he wears.
It's really amazing. 13 years in the major leagues, big guy, 6 feet 6 inches tall. In fact, both pitchers tonight go 6'6". Lackey, however, has had an outstanding career. A 38-year-old now, or 37 years old. He signed a 2-year deal with the Cubs after being with the Cardinals last year. Here's the question on Lackey. He missed the entire 2012 season, Tommy John surgery. Joe Madden thinks that he may have had the best season ever last year. That's one reason why they wanted to sign him to a 2-year deal. They've got him. We'll see how he does when he pitches outside of Busch Stadium in St. Louis.
Well, the wind is blowing in. That's generally good news for guys on the mound. When we come back, guess who's back at the top of the Reds batting order? You got it. Billy Hamilton. Jim Day will have more on that when we return. You're watching Reds baseball from Wrigley Field on Fox Sports Ohio.
Cincinnati Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio is brought to you by Chevy. Check out their award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. I'm Jim Day on the field, and much like Alfredo Simon's success against the Cubs over his career, on the hitting side, Billy Hamilton can boast that as well. He's part of our Elk and Elk storylines tonight. He had a home run here a couple days ago in the home opener for the Cubs in a losing effort. But career versus Chicago, 322 average, 7 doubles, 4 triples, 18 runs driven in. That's the most versus any opposition. And the Reds would like to see more of this, a 381 on-base percentage. Billy knows that this season is very, very big for him personally.
The last couple of years haven't been nowhere near where I wanted to be, and coming into the year where, you know, you really don't have any excuses about being young anymore or anything like that. It's just more of like going out there and competing and do what you got to do. So I'm excited for the season, man. Like I said, I'm prepared and I have no excuses. I mean, it's nobody's fault. It's on me. So I'm looking forward to the season, man. It should be a fun one.
And we'll get to see him right from the get-go. As you mentioned, Tom, he'll be the first to step in against John Lackey tonight.
All righty, Jim Day, thank you very much. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the Reds starting lineup behind Billy tonight. Eugenio Suarez will be at third. Joey Votto at first, bats third. Brandon Phillips at second. Jay Bruce in right. Scott Schebler, the left-handed batter in the lineup against the right-hander Lackey. Zach Cozart had to leave the game a couple of nights ago, and Jim Day will give us an update on his condition. So DeJesus at short. Barnard catching, Simon on the mound. Chris alluded to the year that Lackey had a season ago in St. Louis. In 33 starts, nearly 220 innings, a 2.7 ERA.
He was an all-star back in 2007 pitching for the Angels, but he may have had a better season last year, even though the win-loss record did not indicate that. That's what Joe Madden feels. He says, quote, he sees a renaissance going on with this guy, and he's 37 years old. So we'll see how he fares tonight. Big John Lackey.
And Billy Hamilton, first pitch swinging, and how about that? Right from the get-go, what Jim was just reporting, this has a chance to be 3. Hamilton's going to make the turn, and he'll slam on the brakes as the ball is fired from down in the bullpen area by the right fielder Hayward. So on the very first pitch of the game, Billy a double up the first base line.
Boy, you bring the infield in, and it makes it very difficult to react to balls that are hit just a little bit past you. Now, that probably would have been a double, even where Rizzo would be playing normal depth. But it's an easy double bagger for Billy Hamilton, and that's the way the Reds want to get it going, seeing Hamilton in the leadoff spot tonight.
Game time temperature at 43 degrees. The wind is blowing from the northeast off of Lake Michigan, and it feels colder than 43. So an early scoring chance. The Reds have made this a very good habit to get into, and that is scoring in the first inning and very early in the ball game.
You know, sometimes when you're facing good pitchers, and they did face one obviously the other night with John Lester, you've got another one here with John Lackey. You got to get them early before they get in their rhythm.
Suarez was quieted for the first time really all year long. He went 0 for 4 in the series opening. The Reds got that single run against Lester in the first inning. The night before the final game of the Pirates series, he had the bases loaded with 1 out, had a double play to win that inning. But in the first 2 games against the Pirates, the Reds scored 2 runs in each of those 2 first innings. There's a liner into right. Hamilton delayed, so he'll advance just 90 feet, and the Reds have hits off Lackey from Hamilton and Suarez to begin the game. Take a look at Chicago on defense, presented by Ford. Same group we saw the other night. A lone change behind the plate. David Ross, the personal catcher for John Lester. They have their regular catcher, Miguel Montero, in the lineup tonight. Now Joey Votto, first and third. Nobody out. And Votto dumps it foul off to the third base side. Joey had 2 singles in 4 at-bats here on Monday night. In fact, Votto has had 2 hits now in 2 of the last 3 games after getting just 2 hits total in the first 4 games.
The one guy in the lineup you don't worry about. As long as Votto's healthy, he will hit. And even if he doesn't hit, he gets on base. Although it seems like teams are coming after Votto just a little more. It's small sample size early in the year, but they're coming after him a little bit this year rather than pitching around him.
Ball outside. Lackey so far in this game, Chris, and clearly this is a game plan. He has thrown a total of 5 strikes so far in this game. The Reds have swung at each of them.
Well, the scouting report on Lackey really hasn't changed in a long time. I mean, he's a guy that doesn't fool around. He just throws strikes and comes right after you. So be ready to swing the bat.
There goes Suarez, and he'll easily steal second base. A perfect 2 of 2 in that category is Suarez on the year.
Lackey has never been the best at holding runners on, and it certainly hasn't held him back from being a really good major league pitcher over all the years. They did tighten it up a lot when he went over and played for the St. Louis Cardinals. Of course, a lot of that had to do with Yadier Molina behind the plate.
Lackey in his career is nearly 40 games over 500 as a major league pitcher. He has had an outstanding career. Check swing by Votto on the pitch in the dirt. They won't even appeal down to third, so the count is full on Joey. There you see the career numbers on Lackey. 3.9 ERA. He's been in the big league since 2002 when he came up with Anaheim. And there's ball 4, and the Reds have him loaded with nobody out. It's another vintage Joey Votto at bat. He fell behind in the count, no balls and 2 strikes. Still working on that at bat, even after taking ball 4. So here comes Brandon Phillips. 6 hits, 17 at bats with a home run and 4 runs batted in. He had a hit, a stolen base, a run scored, an RBI here in the loss on Monday night. But a big chance for the Redlegs in the opening inning. It's ball 1 to Brandon. Is a foul ball. I would imagine that's a fine line, Chris, for the catcher Montero as to what to do with that ball. Because Hamilton is so fast. If it would have stayed right on that line, he runs by you.
Well, if he could have run by him, because we're going to take another look at it. It goes right by the line. Montero's there, and he's going to field right here, and Billy Hamilton hadn't gotten there yet, so he could have picked it up in fair territory and tagged Hamilton.
Brandon fouls it back. It's a ball and 2 strikes.
Of course, the rule is that a runner, even if the catcher is fielding a ball in the baseline, you have to give the fielder the right of way, and you've got to run around him. You can't run him over while he's fielding a batted ball.
One ball and 2 strikes on Brandon Phillips, and he pushes it foul. Got jammed with that pitch from Lackey. The Reds have the bases loaded. The inning began with a double by Hamilton, went to third, and a single by Suarez, who then stole second base. A walk to Votto to load him up.
We've already seen 2, now 3 with Brandon Phillips. 2 good 2-strike at bats. Suarez opposite field base hit. And took a little bit off to get Phillips on that one. But Phillips stayed alive prior to that. Well, that's just a good pitch right there. One of those great pitches by a pitcher that looks like a strike and then ends up as a ball.
So now this at bat even more magnified as Jay Bruce settles in. Bases loaded, no out, goes to 1 out. Bruce tied with Suarez for the team lead, each with 9 runs batted in. Ball 1 to Jay.
Well, Jay has reached Lackey for a couple of home runs in his career, although the overall batting average isn't great. He's taken him yard a couple of times.
High fly ball hit well. It will stay in the yard. Caught by Fowler. Tagging and scoring Hamilton. On to third goes Suarez. Give Jay Bruce a sac fly RBI. And the Reds played a run here in the opening inning. Looked like Bruce actually hit that ball quite well, but we mentioned between the temperatures being so cold and the wind blowing in from center field, not suggesting that would have been a home run on a summer day, but it looked a lot better coming off the bat than where it wound up. All right, now Shevler, and that ball is kissed but foul down the line. Shevler 4 hits and 15 at bats, has 3 doubles and 3 runs batted in, including one of those as a game winner. 0-2. Suarez leads at third. Across the diamond, it's Votto at first. Pull to the right side. Zobrist to the grass. Gets up and throws out Shevler to end the inning. But the Reds score their 8th first inning run of the season. 3rd most in the big leagues to stack Alfredo to a 1-0 lead. The Cubs come to bat here in the last of the first inning. Joe Maddon picked up his 100th win as Cub manager on Monday night in just 165 games. And his lineup reads as follows. Fowler in center, Hayward in right, Zobrist as second baseman. Rizzo at first, Chris Bryant at third, Miguel Montero catching. Soler, Russell, Lackey the latter third. And on the mound for the Reds, turns 35 in May, right-hander Alfredo Simon.
So he, like his counterpart, John Lackey, is a big guy, maybe even bigger than Lackey. He's 6 feet 6 inches tall and goes well over 250, throws hard. Likes to sink that fastball down and into right-handers and uses his splitter, very effective against lefties. You know, the one thing that really surprised me the other day when Brandon Finnegan pitched against the Cubs this year have adopted a real work the pitcher strategy, but they came out swinging the bats very aggressively in the first couple of innings. I expect the exact opposite tonight against Alfredo Simon. They're going to work him. They know that he doesn't just fire fastballs like Finnegan started in the first few innings. And they're going to work him, and see if they can't get that pitch count up and make him deliver the ball over the plate.
2-1 on Dexter Fowler. That strategy has certainly been gold thus far for the Cubs. Are averaging over 6 runs per game. 3-1 on Fowler. And they lead the Major League, Cubs batters do, in walks. 38 of them, 2 more than the Pirates. And their pitchers, meanwhile, the Cubs pitchers have issued the fewest walks in all of baseball. That ball is lined into deep right field, and Bruce has it ricochet off his glove, and into second standing up goes Fowler. And has scored a double.
Well, he really went down to golf that ball and hit it hard. Now, we told you about the wind. It probably held it up a little bit. It looked like Jay just may have not realized that that ball was actually hit as far as it was and was wondering where he was in relation to that ivy wall.
You mean the vines on the wall?
Well, yeah, not ivy yet, I guess. It's ivy root.
So each team begins its half of the first inning with a 2-base hit. Here you see the vines that originally were hung from the walls here at Wrigley Field by the late great Bill Veeck. And of course behind that, bricks. You can ask Eric Davis among many others about that. Davis one time when the ivy was in full bloom and full sprint ran into that wall and completely shattered his shoulder. Found out a play by Hayward.
Hayward was the batter that really got it going for the Cubs in the first game of this series when he picked on an 0-2 pitch. A high fastball from Cingrani and lined it into right field. We talk about John Lackey pitching last year for the St. Louis Cardinals, now coming over to the Cubs this year. Well, the same way for Jason Hayward. Cubs are very aggressive in trying to get this outfielder in blue pinstripes.
Still nothing at 2-1 Hayward. 7 hits in his first 28 at bats with 5 runs batted in.
You know, you watch Hayward hit, and he has a little bit of a hitch, it looks like, in his swing. So it tells me as a pitcher, boy, I'd like to get it right in there. I'd like to throw that ball right there under his hands. But he has a knack for getting that bat head on the ball. Really gets it through the zone.
Sounded like he cracked his bat there.
That was even a little bit more up and in. And if you're a pitcher thinking about how to pitch inside, catchers can't give you that target up and in underneath their elbows. So what you look at as a pitcher is the bottom of the elbows and say, that's where I'm going to throw it. Now, if I miss, I want to miss it more inside, not out over the plate. Another target right now, as you see the home plate umpire squat behind home plate.
That's Jeff Keller. You see that white patch on his right shoulder. That would be a good spot if you're coming inside.
And that's where he went, exactly where you thought he should to get the strikeout of Hayward.
It's a big strikeout there, and Hayward, left-hander, is supposed to get that runner over to third base. This is the cutter right there, and it gets Hayward off because of the timing of the pitch. He was a little ahead of it, and that ball just didn't dip on him.
So one away in the inning, and that'll bring up the veteran Ben Zobrist. Zobrist, like tonight's starter John Lackey, both brought in, and Hayward for that matter, all three brought in as free agents during the offseason. Zobrist finished last year as Kansas City's second baseman and won a World Series ring.
Well, they've got two switch hitters in the first three batters in the lineup. So if you're a right-handed pitcher pitching against the Cubs, with Rizzo up next, you're looking at four lefties in a row coming at you to start the ball game off. For a lot of right-handers, that could be a real challenge.
See Simon after every pitch blowing on those fingers. Jim Day alluded during the pregame show about how Simon felt his fingers were numb after the first couple of innings, his first start of the year in Cincinnati, where we had very cold weather. We thought it was going to be a little warmer here, at least according to the weather reports before we arrived into town. But tonight is colder than it was on opening night. Temperatures will be in the 30s shortly, and the wind chill's there already.
Kind of interesting, really, from a rule standpoint. You're only allowed to blow into your hands on games in which the umpire tells you that you're allowed to do so. You are allowed to lick your fingers at any game as long as you show that you're wiping it off. Although I can tell you, when it's the wind chill's in the 30s, blowing on your hand a little bit, that's like trying to hold a candle in a hurricane. Doesn't do too much for you.
Two and two on Zobrist. Fowler at second base. And now full count.
Well, the one pitch that you would think the cold weather would affect the pitcher way more than any others, in my opinion, would probably be the splitter that he throws. Because you got to get just the right amount of friction on the baseball from the insides of your index finger and your middle finger to find a release point where you can throw it for a strike.
Ball four. Take a look at the Reds on defense behind Alfredo Simon tonight. Presented by Ford. We mentioned Chevrolet, the nod in the left field. Hamilton at center. Jay Bruce, a sac fly RBI already in the game tonight in right. De Jesus for the injured Zach Kozak. And Barnard starts tonight in place of Mesoraco. De Jesus, you may remember, came on to replace Kozart, who appeared to injure that quad the very first at bat of the game when he had a base hit here on Monday night. Stayed in the game for the next 4 innings before De Jesus replaced him at short. And a strike one on Anthony Rizzo. 2 home runs already, 10 runs batted in for this Cubs slugger. He only has 6 hits. But look at that on base percentage. Up over 420. For 6 of the 10 RBIs for Rizzo came in one game. That was in the series opener last Thursday night in Arizona.
Well, the Cubs are being very consistent about the way they're going about their at-bats. Each Cub hitter so far has looked at the first pitch strike.
One and one to Rizzo. We talked about it the other night. The Cubs last year, they strike out a ton. but they walk a lot.
Yeah, you walk a lot and you hit for power, and that way the strikeouts don't bother you too much. Although they have shown with 2 strikes they're going to bear down a little bit. Hayward took a big swing, but Zobrist is the kind of guy to cut it down, and so is Anthony Rizzo if you can get 2 strikes on him.
Tailing away from Rizzo, he comes up empty, 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 on, 1 out, bottom of the first inning.
Looks like just a little 2-seamer that he runs away from him right there.
I mentioned very briefly about Bill Veeck. He was the one who came up with putting the vines. In fact, he bought them and planted them all the way back in September of 1937. Veeck strung bittersweet from the top of the wall down to the bottom and then planted the ivy at the base of the wall, 1937. Long look in by Simon, and now Barnhart will call timeout and come visit Alfredo on the mound.
You know, Tom, you're talking about those vines and the ivy out here at Wrigley Field. I'm trying to think of another ballpark out there that does not have some kind of a protective padding on walls where runners can, outfielders can run into it. That may look like nice and green when you come back here in June, but it really doesn't provide a whole lot of cushion for an outfield.
Zero. In fact, when I used to work here, I would ask about it frequently about putting up padding and see if this is going to stay in fair territory or playable ground. It is not. And they said that if you were to go up there and try to put padding underneath the vines out there, you would kill it. So they made that decision. And I guess if you're going to come here and play outfield as a Cub player, you just realize that you're asking for real problems if you go crashing anywhere near that fence. Because you're right. Even in full bloom, it's not doing you any good. Chris brought it up very early in the game. This is precisely what the Cubs have become. A team that, why don't you set that pole up there? You couldn't do that if you stood there for a week. This will be the 8th pitch in this at bat to Rizzo. And already the 25th pitch of the inning by Simon. Runners take off. And they easily steal third and second. Alfredo got a little complacent there. So the double steal by Fowler and Zobrist puts a pair of runners in scoring position. And now the 9th pitch in the at-bat up coming to Rizzo. 1 out. There'll be a 10th pitch in this at bat. Hayward fouled off 4 pitches in his at-bat. Rizzo has done the same thing. And the 10th pitch in this batter is ball 4. What an at-bat by Rizzo. And they're loaded with 1 out in the inning.
It just seems to me that Alfredo Simon is really battling everything right now. He's battling a very patient Cubs team. He's battling the weather. He's battling the fact that it's the first inning and he really doesn't feel like he's in a nice groove yet. And he made a great pitch to get Jason Hayward to strike out, but he has walked the next 2 batters, and that's why Mark Riggins is out on the mound to try to settle him down a little bit. Now, they've been very patient so far, and I got to tell you that I would think with Chris Bryant up, after having seen Simon walk the last 2 hitters, he's looking for something right down the middle to jump on. He's not taking that first pitch if it's a fastball that he can hit.
So they are loaded for Chris Bryant. Reds scored a run in the top of this inning, which at this point in time seems like about a week and a half ago. It has been a 30-minute first inning, and there's only 1 out in the bottom of the inning. Bryant 6 of 30 with 2 runs batted in. He has 3 doubles so far this season. Alfredo falls behind 2-0.
I wonder what Mark Riggins said to Alfredo Simon out there. The only thing I could think to say to him was, it's nice and warm in the dugout.
And it is. I was joking around with Mark Riggins about that before the game today. Sitting there with Mark and Mac Jenkins. For the bullpen, no heater blowing out there on those guys. In the dugout, they don't have 1. They have 2 of them. So a lot more comfortable. We'll see if Alfredo can get there sooner rather than later. He is walking a dangerous line here in the last of this first inning. 2-0 with the bases loaded. 3-0 with the bases loaded.
This first inning provides us with an opportunity to talk about something, Tom, that I find somewhat interesting, and that's run expectancy. Reds had bases loaded, nobody out. Based on the numbers, you're expected to score somewhere about 2.2 runs in situations like that. The Cubs now, 1 out, bases loaded. That run expectancy is 1.5. So the Reds didn't succeed in getting what is expected out of them in the first inning. Alfredo Simon's trying to keep the Cubs from getting what is expected of them.
Three balls, 2 strikes, bases loaded with 1 out. Simon facing Bryant, and he walks in a run. He's walked 3 batters in a row. So the inning continues for the left-handed batting Miguel Montero. The most pitches Alfredo Simon has ever thrown in the opening inning of a game is 35. 34 is coming up to Montero. They're loaded with one away in a 1-1 game, and it's a strike to the knees to Montero. We saw this young man for many, many years as an Arizona Diamondback. That was the organization with which he reached the major leagues. Now 32 years old, a native Venezuelan. Made his major league debut in 2006. Jam shot pop-up, and it's out of play. So after walking 3 batters in a row, Alfredo gets ahead of Montero, and no balls, 2 strikes. Montero suffered through a hand injury in early July last year, which took away what looked like it may be a pretty good year. It's off the inside corner, 1 ball and 2 strikes. He's a good hitter.
Yeah, he is a good hitter, and he's got a nice level swing. Montero does. It's a nice little catching core they have here with a left-handed hitter Montero and a right-handed hitting David Ross.
One ball and 2 strikes, 1 out. And another foul ball. Alfredo is knocking on the door of a 40-plus pitch.
Yeah, it's got to be very frustrating for Simon because you throw a pitch like that, it was an off-speed pitch, and he wants Montero to put that ball in play. And instead of being able to hit it fair, he hits it foul and just stretches the at-bat out.
Cubs have 11 foul balls of the 37 pitches that Simon has thrown in this first inning. And that one is dumped into left field, a base hit. That'll score 1 run. And the Cubs still have them loaded with 1 out, and they lead 2-1 after the run-scoring single by Montero.
Now that is an excellent at-bat for Miguel Montero. He battled and battled, finally got a pitch upstairs, but in the zone and hittable. I mean, upstairs meaning about waist high. And he takes it the other way. I've always liked Montero as a hitter. I'm always kind of surprised, really, that he didn't even put up better numbers than he has based on how he looks at the plate.
Straley begins to get loose in the Reds bullpen. Bases loaded, 1 out for Jorge Soler. 3 hits and 23 at-bats. One of those hits a home run. Told you earlier that at 35 that was the most pitches Simon had ever thrown in a first inning. Well, at 39 and now 40, that's the most he's ever thrown in any inning in his major league career. He's walked 3, given up 2 runs and 2 hits. And this ball is hit hard in a deep left field, will bring in another run. Sac fly RBI, but the first out recorded by Simon. Of the last 5 that come to the plate, the Cubs now lead 3-1.
You know, it sounds funny, but that really ought to give Alfredo a little bit of confidence because Soler hit that ball pretty well. And it really didn't even get to the warning track. So the wind is your friend tonight. Don't put yourself in a situation by walking batters. Just throw them high and away and let them hit it as far as they can into that cold north wind.
Addison Russell, the real hero here on Monday night for the club, when he hit that 3-run home run in the 8th inning on the first pitch thrown by Jumbo Diaz, which proved to be the game winner. Of the 4 runs scored in this game, 3 of them have been scored without the benefit of a base hit. The only run-scoring hit was off the bat of Montero a moment ago. Sinking liner, right center. That'll fall in front of Bruce and make it a 4-run first inning for Chicago.
Well, Russell does a nice job of staying inside this ball and hit it on a line. Jay Bruce comes in hard on that, but the fact that it was a humpback line drive and the wind knocked it down, there's no way you get it on a fly.
Well, here's the happiest guy coming up in the whole joint. John Lackey gave up a run in the top of the first inning, but his team has scored 4 and is still batting. Lackey, of course, the 9th man to bat in this opening frame. All 1. Game started 42 minutes ago, and we are still in the bottom of the first inning. You know, something you pointed out earlier, every Cub batter until that one right there had looked at least 1 strike in the at-bat. The first strike in the at-bat.
Yeah. I'll tell you, an inning like this is like throwing 6 innings of 15 pitches an inning. I mean, because you're out there just really laboring. 48 pitches, one after another. You're thinking, now I finally got the pitcher up, and I can't seem to get him out in a reasonable number of pitches.
You didn't get him out at all. That's going to do it for Simon. That'll be a 5-run first inning, and I'm sure Brian Price comes to get him now. This will be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Cubs still batting here in the first inning. They have scored 5 runs, 4 hits, and 3 walks. Straley comes on for the Reds. We're back in a moment.
broadcast is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Alfredo Simon, last 2/3 of an inning here tonight, faces 9 batters. He's given up so far 5 runs. In his 84th career start, the first time he does not get out of the opening inning. And now Dan Straley. This is inside ball 1, facing the leadoff man Fowler, who started this 5-run party for the Cubs with a leadoff double.
Well, it's not common nowadays to see a pitcher in the bullpen that is primarily a long man, but Straley is exactly that. Most of his major league duty and minor league duty, in fact, has been that as a starter. So you figure that he knows what it takes to go through a lineup a couple of times, and I would imagine that Brian Price expects that out of Straley tonight.
That one hits Dexter Fowler. The pitcher and batter in that at-bat were actually traded for one another just 1 year ago. Straley, the property of the Cubs, along with Luis Valbuena. They were sent to Houston to acquire Fowler, who had finished out his 2014 season with the Astros. Cubs have the bases loaded, and now Hayward, who struck out a long time ago. But it was in his first inning. The inning began with a double by Fowler and then a strikeout of Hayward. A walk to Zobrist, a double steal, a walk to load him to Rizzo, a bases loaded walk to Bryant, and a run-scoring single from Montero, sac fly RBI to Soler. And you think maybe you're going to get out of this thing with, 3 runs in the inning. But then Russell, a 2-out RBI single. The pitcher Lackey, a 2-out RBI single. Now after a hit batsman, it's 1-2 to Hayward. Pending foul and on a play down the first base line. Like he went around for the 3rd strike, and he did. But what an inning for Chicago. 3 walks, 5 runs on 4 hits. Long way to go. 5-1 Cubs in front.
Work to do here at Wrigley on Fox Sports Ohio. Zach Cozart out of the starting lineup after he left Monday night's game, but the Reds are fortunate to have a player like Ivan DeJesus Jr. because he's the ultimate utility man who can play all over the field. In fact, he's our subject of tonight's Let's Motor Player Profile, brought to you by BMW Mini. DeJesus in spring training, look at the games he played by position. 11 at shortstop, 7 at second base, 3 at third base, and even got in a game at first base, and he will lead off this half inning for Cincinnati. As for Zach Cozart, he felt a lot better yesterday. On the off day, came in and got treatment. Felt even better today. He hit today, said he had no problems, deemed himself available off the bench tonight, and said if he has no setbacks, he expects to be back in the starting lineup tomorrow night, although that is Brian Price's decision, obviously. And Brian Price has been known to give guys an extra day, but it is good news on the Zach Cozart front.
All right, Jimbo, here we go in the second inning, and to start things off, it'll be Ivan DeJesus Jr. And he lifts a fly ball into center field. That's a quick at bat. Second pitch and an out. Take a look at one of our feathered friends here. Started down in the bullpen. Now moving around over by the Reds' first base side dugout. You know, it got me to wondering about ducks in cold weather. You know, you always hear about ducks. They don't like cold weather. They get out of town and they go places where it's warm. That'd be a smart thing to do for anybody, person or duck. But I learned that their bodies have special ways to adapt to the cold. It has a lot to do with the veins and the arteries in their feet. And they run very close together. The long and short of it is that cold blood runs up from the leg, from the foot, passes by the artery. It all of a sudden picks up heat in the artery. And as many of you probably know, they really don't get cold from the water. They have a very waxy substance on their feathers that prevents them from getting wet in the water. And who knows? He might be heading over for a little dip into Lake Michigan. He's on his way.
And I thought duck was something you do when a pitch is coming at your head. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Tucker Barnhart, the batter, with one out. Lackey on the mound, and he walks it, so you'll take that. For Lackey, that's already his second walk. Alfredo Simon had 3 of them. And now the pitcher Straley will bat. Now we have seen Straley a plate appearance already this season when he came in and worked 3 innings of no-hit shutout baseball in that 2-1 win over the Pirates on Sunday. And he put down a sacrifice like there was nothing to it. 1 ball and 1 strike.
He's being asked to do it again.
Did he offer that pitch? And yes, says the first base umpire Brian O'Nora. I want to send out a get well wish to our good friend Bob Kraft. He is the father of the Reds senior vice president Karen Forgus, and I understand father and daughter are watching the ball game tonight. Bob, we certainly hope you're doing well and getting better all the time. Butt right at Rizzo, who fires on to second for the force out, and Straley is safe at first.
Nice play by Rizzo. He has really turned himself into an excellent first baseman. A left-handed thrower. He decided before he even got to this baseball where he was going on it, because he was charging hard. It came right back to him, and you make the decision based on the timing of how quickly that ball gets to you. And they nearly get a double play.
Billy Hamilton had a double up the first baseline and scored in the top of the first inning. And he looks at strike 3 called. A breaking ball in the outside corner. And that's all for the Reds in the second. A walk, a man left. Middle of the second. Cubs lead 5-1. Purchase your tickets to the next Super Saturday. That's coming up April the 3rd, 23rd. That'll be against the Chicago Cubs, thanks to John Morrell. And the first 25,000 fans receive a Vado-Matic Super bobblehead. And you can get tickets for as low as $12 in that series. 381-REDS or visit Reds.com today. That'll be the Colorado Rockies coming in for 3. And then a 4-game series against these Cubs starting this coming Monday at Great American Ballpark. We'd love to have you come on down. Three, 4, and 5 in the Chicago batting order. Zobrist to be followed by Rizzo and Bryant. They get their first look at the reliever Dan Straley. There's a slow roller down to Votto, and did he get to it in time? Foul ball. We had games roughly start an hour before this one, of course, in the Eastern time zone. And normally, you look up at the scoreboard, and those games would be in about the 3rd inning. You look up at the scoreboard tonight, and those that began in the Eastern Seaboard in Philadelphia, Washington, won games in the 7th, the game's already in the 8th. You see there in the 8th inning in Tampa Bay. And they're already in the bottom of the 3rd inning, even with 4 runs scored between the Brewers and St. Louis. And St. Louis, of course, in the same time zone as we are right now. That first inning took nearly an hour.
Well, it did, but fortunately for the Reds, this game is without a clock. And they're only down by 4.
Yep.
You'd think after an hour long, they'd be down by 10. I think the challenge for the Reds, though, is to keep a little energy on that in that dugout right now. Make sure that you know that this ball game has got a lot of play left in it.
It's a great point. Fly ball to Hamilton, and the leadoff man set down by Straley.
And a lot of that has to do with what Dan Straley's able to do here for the next few innings, because he's going to have the ball.
Here's why I read the story the other day, Chris, of Johnny Cueto's second start as a Giant. Some of you may have seen it.
Very interesting.
Maybe read the article. Cueto pitched a brilliant game, his first as a Giant in Milwaukee, but his first game at home, very nervous, he admitted afterwards, trying to impress fans at AT&T Park, and he gave up 5 runs at the top of the first inning. He said no sooner did he reach the dugout and start to sit down about 4 or 5 of his teammates. He said ultimately every guy who was in the starting lineup, all 8 of the position players, walked over him. This will be the second out of the inning, both on a pair of fly balls in Hamilton. And said, hey, look, you go out there and get him out. We got your back. We'll come back and win the game. And it's not that Cueto was stunned, but he said he certainly was surprised that every guy in that Giant lineup walked up to him in the first inning before they ever swung the bat and said, we got you. Just keep doing what you're doing. Cueto wound up going 7 innings in that game and got the win.
End up getting the win, you're right.
And this is what you want from Straley. He retires a side 1, 2, 3. So let's see if the Reds can get something going. Suarez, Votto, Phillips coming up. Baseball Live with the MLB.com at Bat app. You can stay up to the moment at any moment with game day, live game video highlights, statcast, news, and more. Check it out at MLB.com at Bat. Top of the 3rd inning, Cubs with a 4-run lead. Suarez, Votto, Phillips. Reds are hoping, of course, for more than that. He scored in the very first inning against Lackey. Suarez very much in the mix as he singled after Hamilton a double. The Reds had the bases loaded with nobody out in that first inning. And then Lackey retired 3 batters in a row, 1 on a sac fly by Jay Bruce, but that was a big strikeout of Brandon Phillips there with 1 out in the inning. Or with nobody out in the inning, I beg your pardon. And with 1 out, Bruce had the fly ball. 3-0 on Suarez.
I mean, stranger things have happened here at Wrigley Field. You've been here for so many games, Tom, when you were announcing Cubs games. I mean, rarely do you see a game that is just a normal game. There's always weird things happen here, and we may be on to something here tonight that you don't normally see.
I just love your point, though, about, you hear so many times people in baseball, managers, players, executives, fans have even used the term borderline ad nauseum, but it's true. As that one is ripped into right field, a base hit, about the grind of baseball compared to every other sport. Because of being, playing 162 games in 180 days. Now spring training, you're playing 30 games a year. But this game tonight is a microcosm of that. And how are you going to grind to get back in this thing? Because you're only in the 3rd. You're only down 4, and now you look up, a walk and a single, and you have 2 on with nobody out.
Well, you're going to be here through the 9th inning anyway. You might as well have fun doing it.
Sure.
And it's a whole lot more fun winning than it is sitting around and getting beat up.
Phillips back through the middle. And that's a double play ball. Third to away. Here comes Jay Bruce. He knocked in the only Reds run of the night. A sac fly to center field, plating Hamilton. Looking for a 2-out knock here to get a little closer. Ball 1. Are scoreless. We're in the middle of the third, where the Cubs lead 5-1.
I'm Jim Day. Let's give you an update on Anthony DeSclafani. Today through a 45-pitch bullpen session, trying to come back from an oblique injury. Now, they'll see how he feels tomorrow. There's no plan, at least they haven't announced, but Brian Price did say it's been so long since he pitched in a game, that being back in Goodyear, Arizona in spring training, that you almost got to think that they're going to send him on a rehab stint in the minor leagues because they don't want to hamstring themselves with a pitcher on a 70-75 pitch count coming back. So look for, if he's okay tomorrow, him to go out on a minor league rehab stint coming up soon.
Jim, thank you. DeSclafani made 5 spring training starts. His last exhibition game appearance, Chris, you and I were there, over in Surprise against the Texas Rangers. That's where he gave up 4 home runs to the Rangers in that outing, 8 earned runs. And we, of course, came to find out later that that's when he felt that tweak in the rib cage, oblique area. Pretty much has been shut down ever since.
Well, I think Jim makes a great point that and Brian Price obviously thinking of the big picture, which is you can't run a pitcher out there that can't take you deep into a ball game, or you can't take you deep into a ball game because of the pitch count. So you got to build his arm back up the way it was when he was, towards the end of spring training. Kind of ironic, really, that the guy that the Reds expected to see the big innings here this year is is Alfredo Simon, and he's the first pitcher not to be able to get through the first inning.
So a leadoff walk to Montero, and that'll bring up the left fielder Jorge Soler. Knocked in a run, that 5-run first inning with a sac fly to Schebler in left field. It really is amazing when you play on a team that has brought or is bringing a lot of players up from its minor league system at one time, players that have a lot of talent. And on that same team, you're playing for a franchise that will go out and commit $270 million in the offseason, as the Cubs did, on free agents Hayward and Zobrist and started tonight, John Lackey. The first sign of trouble from a player, and it can come from lack of production, it can come from lack of durability, it can come from something off the field, but at the first sign of a little bump in the road, there are people there to take your job right now, and that is exactly where Soler was before the injury to Kyle Schwarber. Sinking liner will fall in a hit. I mean, all we heard about for 4 years was Javier Baez and Jorge Soler. And they were going to be part of the foundation of this whole youth movement for the Cubs. Baez was hurt in spring training. He didn't have a place to play every day after they signed Zobrist. Soler looked like a star in the making. Still might be one. But when opening day came around, he was behind Schwarber, Fowler, and Hayward on the depth chart. He injured his thumb in spring training, and just when he was out on a rehab assignment, then he gets hit with a pitch, which sends him back even further. But when he's ready to play, they envision him as being a guy that can start one day at third, one day at short, one day at second, one day in the outfield. So he'll get a lot of playing time without a regular position. 2-0 on Russell. The Reds have not gone to full rebuild mode the way the Cubs did when Theo Epstein took over 4 years ago, this being the 5th year. The Reds still have a lot of veteran players who are making a lot of money that are still playing on this team, especially the position players, exclusively really the position players. Votto, Phillips, Bruce, there's ball four to Russell. Cozart, they have Mesoraco on a long-term deal. We saw the Cubs 4 years ago. They had no players like that were in long-term, big money contract deals. And it was ugly. They lost over 100 games 3 years ago. The 2 years after that finished dead last in the division. By the time all those guys were ready, sprinkled in with some players from other places, they won 97 a season ago. Strike one to Lackey.
They've been more active in the free agent market for pitching than they have been for position players, and that's not by mistake. That's just the way they see as a strategy to go forward. To bring up the position players in your farm system, because it's a lot easier to find a starter or a reliever out on the free agent market than it is to say a starting third baseman. So they've been heavily drafting, position players at the top of the draft rather than going after pitchers. We'll see how in the long run that works out.
1-1 account, bases loaded, nobody out, and it's too low. Yeah, I'm reminded, I guess, the one guy they had when Epstein took over that they traded shortly thereafter that was on a long-term deal is Alfonso Soriano. Remember him? Rocky, an RBI single to right his first time up.
Starlin Castro was on a long-term deal.
Yeah,
too,
but I didn't consider him, he's such a young player. He still was one of those, shave off the arbitration years, that kind of thing. Not a player making huge money. And they traded him. Lackey gone on strikes for out number 1. Second strikeout for Straley. Walk, single, and a walk, a strikeout, and then back to the top of the order. Third time already tonight for Fowler. A double, a stolen base, a run scored. He was hit by a pitch. The first batter Straley faced, and he replaced Alfredo in the first inning. One ball and one strike.
We've yet to see the Cubs hit a ground ball in this ballgame. That's what Straley's looking for right here to help him get out of this inning.
Fly ball down the left field line, and that is foul. Straley ahead of Fowler, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Washington Nationals keep right on rolling. They go to 6-1, but that's a quick night tonight. That's about 2 hours and 10 minutes in a 3-0 shutout over the Atlanta Braves. The only other final from earlier today was the Angels 5-1 victors over Oakland. Look out. Back-to-back strikeouts as Fowler is gone for the second out of the inning.
Got a good look inside the glove to see the changeup of Dan Straley and had him looking fastball way out ahead. Talking about they beat the Atlanta Braves in a trim 2 hours and 12 minutes. Wow. A lot of strike throwing going on in that game.
You're right about that. There's a base hit into right center field off the bat of Hayward. 1 run scores. Here comes a second as Soler slides in safely, and that makes it a 7-1 game.
Jason Hayward struck out twice in the same inning his first 2 at-bats. This time he makes up for it with a line drive base hit. Boy, what a flat swing he has. Rips it right by Brandon Phillips. Davis Sampson up, down, and throwing in the Reds bullpen as Mark Riggins makes his way back to the dugout after a little pep talk for Dan Straley.
So Hayward gets in on the act for the first time tonight. He struck out twice in that 5-run first inning. And now delivers a 2-run single. 2 in, 2 on, 2 out, and it's Zobrist batting. Nice block there by Tucker Barnhart, preventing a pair of runners moving into scoring position.
Textbook by Barnhart.
Ben Zobrist, 34 years old. He was born and raised in Eureka, Illinois. His father is a pastor at Liberty Bible Church in Eureka. Here's a strike. Originally a 4th-round pick by Houston in 2004. 2 years later, traded to Tampa Bay, where he really struggled for 2 years as a shortstop. He was playing shortstop. They'd play him in right field. He was strictly a backup player until 2009. Second baseman for the Rays was injured. Zobrist took over. That year he went to the All-Star game. And he would stay a Tampa Bay Ray playing for Joe Madden all the way until the 2014 year. He's been to a pair of All-Star games. Zobrist signed as a free agent to come to the Cubs. He was told he was not going to be moving around much anymore, that he was going to be the second baseman, and that's it. And then as soon as Schwarber went down, there was some speculation that they might approach Zobrist to reconsider the idea of being moved around a little bit. From what we understand, though, there's been no conversation in that direction. They're giving Soler the first crack at it. An option they may have if it doesn't work out there is Baez playing third base and Bryant going into left field. Should be the third out of the inning, and Suarez will squeeze it to take care of that. 2 runs in the Cubs third, and they lead 7-1. Sunday NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing heads to Bristol starting at 12:30 Eastern, only on Fox, or you can watch it live on Fox Sports Go. I assume that's Bristol, Tennessee. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Because there is a Bristol,
North Carolina.
and there is a Bristol, Connecticut, and there's probably a Bristol, Lord knows how many of them there are. But NASCAR is going to Bristol, Tennessee. Of course, you say that here in Chicago, and you say the Bristol. That's an American restaurant, I guess, located over in an area you like to hang out in, a very swanky Bucktown area. There's a liner that's... Is that caught out there? It is. What a catch in right center made by Hayward. He is among the very best.
Really good jump on that ball. Came and outstretched to get it. Look how he made sure that both of his hands didn't curl up underneath him right there. That's when you injure your wrist. When you catch a ball and then all of a sudden that glove moves underneath your body and it twists your wrist in a very unnatural position. Well, it used to be when Wrigley Field was one of the only grass fields in the National League. You would have to come here to Chicago to see outfielders dive for baseballs, because nobody wanted to dive on that Astros.
Sure.
Now the only place you see that artificial turf is a lot of amateur fields, like high school, college fields, and they do that so they can get their games in. Sure.
Going on strikes, De Jesus. And that's a third of the game for Lackey. Have you ever been to a NASCAR event before? I was just thinking about that. Bristol, Tennessee, the Bristol Motor Speedway. Have you ever gone to a NASCAR event?
No, I have not been to an event.
I hear they're incredible.
I bet they are. I mean, they draw hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
They camp out for days in advance.
Of course, we have one right across the river over at the Kentucky Motor Speedway.
You think about taking a weekend off and
no, but
but
working for Fox for so long, and Fox has televised NASCAR for so long. David Hill, who started Fox Sports and ran Fox Sports forever, just recently stepped away as chairman of Fox Sports, and he's a native Australian. I mean, he knows no more about NASCAR when he first started than the scoreboard does out there. And I remember many occasions him saying to me, Tom, you've got to go to a NASCAR event. It's unbelievable. And he'd talk about, the drivers coming in on these helicopters and landing and then getting in their cars and the scene and the tailgating, and then once you get in there, and I bet it's pretty cool.
I bet it is. We seem to be working that time of year.
You're right. Remember the one guy in baseball, and I know it's going to come to your mind right away. Who's the one guy in baseball? He'd walk down to his office once the season got going, and on a Saturday or Sunday, you were guaranteed he would be in his office on a Saturday or Sunday before a day game watching NASCAR. Fanatical about it. Bobby Cox, manager of the Atlanta Braves. There's a ground ball to third to end the inning. Reds are gone in order. They trail by 6.
Inside Wrigley. I'm Jim Day. You've seen Major League Baseball honor such holidays, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Memorial Day, the 4th of July. Well, now they're taking it a step further. They unveiled new uniforms that they're going to wear on those dates, and the jerseys very much reflect it. You'll see Mother's Day, which they honor breast cancer on that day. Father's Day, they're always wearing that light blue. And then Memorial Day, the Reds at the Rockies, you'll see that uniform. And Independence Day, the Reds will wear a red jersey on that day. The hats will go along with that as well. You look at the hats, which will honor each day as well. And we'll also see a different look at the All-Star game. This is the Reds hat. That's going to be at the All-Star game right there. And the Home Run Derby hat, I believe. All-Star game in San Diego this year. That's why you see the Padres look of that hat there on the right. So in twofold, boys, to honor those days and also to sell a few jerseys.
You think?
Yes, sir.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You heard a lot of that the last couple of days. I mean, you and the Cowboy have been joined at the hip as Kivas Sampson takes over on the mound for the Reds. May remember we saw Sampson a great deal as a starter last year, but I think it was pretty much universal in agreement that his stuff might be better suited moving forward to the bullpen. He's only 25 years old. Started 12 games, made 1 relief appearance last year. You know, he felt that last year his strike throwing ability was really hindered by the elbow surgery he had the year before. And he expects to be more of a strike thrower here in 2016.
Well, he really needs to be. We've talked a number of times about how Brian Price has simply said, my guys are going to throw the ball over the plate or else they're not going to pitch. For Sampson, it's kind of an interesting position. A guy like Kivas Sampson finds himself in. His stock really went up last year when he came to the major leagues and showed that he had some good stuff. But while the Reds are bringing along some of their top prospects like Robert Stevenson and Cody Reed, who by the way pitched today for Louisville, you need some guys in the meantime. And this is where Sampson, who's still a young pitcher, gets a chance to show his stuff at the major league level. But he also knows full well that on Sunday, John Moscott's going to get the ball against the St. Louis Cardinals. And if he gets activated, somebody is going to be moved off this roster. Whether it be a starter or a reliever, we don't know yet. We haven't been told who that person's going to be. But if you're down around the bottom rungs of the pitching staff, and I've been there and I can tell you that you're well aware of what the situation is. And you know that this game tonight, down by 6 runs early on, I mean, you're pitching for your major league status right now if you're Kivas Sampson. I mean, you're pitching this like it's a playoff game.
Let's see if Kivas can have a good outing here tonight. He comes into a 7-1 ball game. He strikes out the first batter he faces. That one is ripped down the line, and it is a fair ball off the fair pole, a home run. The first of the year for Chris Bryant. His first home run of the year.
Boy, Bryant got his hands inside to get the bat head on that ball, didn't he? Yeah, his swing reminds me a little bit of Richie Sexton.
Yes, that's a great point.
I mean, for a big guy, a lot of times big, tall hitters have long arms. They've got long swings. And that's why there aren't all that many hitters around baseball that are, 6'5" and above, because it's just too big of a strike zone, and they usually just have a naturally long swing. You got to work on it to keep it short. Bryant has done that. And Sexton had it was Sexton, I guess.
Sexton. When he was in Milwaukee and I was announcing the Diamondbacks games, the Diamondbacks traded 6 players for Richie Sexton. And he comes to Arizona, and the first home run he hits, I think it is still the longest home run that's ever been hit at what was back one ballpark, now Chase Field. He had power unlike anybody in the major league, Sexton.
Well, there was
Within a week later, he got hurt his shoulder, and he was never the same player again. It's too bad because, boy, that's a guy that would have hit a ton of home runs.
Well, before they reconfigured Minute Maid Park in Houston, there in Towles Hill in center field, there was a big flagpole. And about halfway up that pole, there was a big dent. And it was so obvious that you came to the ballpark, you looked at it, well, first of all, there's a flagpole in the middle of the field.
Sure.
And then you see the dent, you want to know what the story is. And it was a Richie Sexton home run.
Boy, did he have power. Man.
And so did Chris Bryant.
Yes. Bryant is a much better hitter than Richie Sexton. All around. Sexton wound up hitting 306 major league home runs. You know, he played a few more years with Seattle after that 1 year in Arizona where he got hurt. And man, when he originally came up with the Cleveland Indians, that's when they had all those mashers, you know. And he just fit right in. Base hit into left field. So home run, walk, single after a strikeout of Rizzo to begin the inning. An RBI single is also drawn a walk. Reds scored in the top of the first inning. The Cubs have scored 8 unanswered ever since. 5 in the first, 2 in the third, 1 here in the fourth. Location on that fastball at 93 on the inside corner. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Addison Russell, only 22 years old, the 8th youngest player in all of Major League Baseball. He grew up in Pace, Florida. Brought up earlier that Dan Straley was involved in a trade for Jason Hayward. He was also involved in a trade for Addison Russell. That was in July of 2014 in the Jeff Samardzija trade. For the second go-round, or at the time his first go-round with the Cubs. Jason Hamill was also involved in that deal. They wound up getting Hamill back. Balls and 2 strikes. Full count. No, we all remember the book and then the movie that was made starring Brad Pitt, Moneyball. And a lot of it focusing in on the philosophy and in every area of baseball, and especially surrounding the Oakland Athletics organization and their general manager, Billy Beane. Bouncing ball. Votto will throw it in the dirt. That's quite a pickup right there by DeJesus, and they get the second out of the inning. But one of the areas that the A's for a long, long time, they would only draft college players. Addison Russell was the first high school player that the Oakland A's took with their first pick in the draft in the first round when they made him their pick in 2012. He was the first high school player they had chosen since Jeremy Bonderman in 2001. Wow. Going to be a wild pitcher to bring in the Cubs' 9th run of the game.
Barnhart is about as good as they come when it comes to blocking pitches in the dirt. But when they're only thrown 54 feet, it doesn't give the catcher much of a chance at all. Watch where this ball bounces. There's something, there's too little stick 'em, and then there's too much stick 'em. Gotta find that right compromise in between, just the right amount.
Now, could that have fallen under the department of either one? He didn't have enough on it, thus he had too much on it, thus.
Not enough, I would think, would go to the backstop. Too much bounces in front of the plate.
And won the count on the pitcher, Lackey. Sampson has just walked the pitcher. Reds pitchers have walked 7 batters in this game and won the 4th inning.
Guy who knows that this day is a very important day in his career.
Who's that?
Back in 1963, after starting the season with 11 at-bats, hitless at-bats, he finally got the first major league hit of his career, in which he has more hits than any other player ever. Wow. He got it off of Bob Gray. It was a triple.
Okay. Number 1.
Years later, he gets his 4,000th hit on this day.
You know, another interesting note on this date in baseball history. Think about this for a second. In a spring training game played in Norfolk, Virginia in 1939, spring training game.
Right.
Lou Gehrig, with apparent muscle loss. They didn't know for sure at that point what was wrong with him. Right around his shoulders. He hit 2 home runs in an exhibition loss against the Dodgers. They would be the last home runs the Iron Horse would ever hit. In 1939 on April the 13th.
Well, Pete will be celebrating a birthday tomorrow.
Yes. And who did you say the other day shares the same birthday as Pete?
Brandon Finnegan.
That's who it is.
Greg Maddux.
Wow. Start a good ball club right there.
Yeah, and some bum named Chris Welsh.
Oh my gosh. How about that?
There went the good ball club down the drain.
Right in the toilet. No. You pitched in the big leagues for a long, long time. Well, that means we're in for a really late night tonight. There's a pop-up to the shortstop. I mean, whether it's here at Wrigley Field or elsewhere. They might have a place you could hang out to celebrate a birthday in this town. Maybe two. Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on U.S. News best children's hospitals in America. And as always, we send out a special hello to those watching in and around Cincinnati Children's Hospital today. We pray you've had a great day today. I tell you what, Monday was a great day for one of our directors of Reds baseball, Brian Hunterman. His longtime bride, Paula, became grandparents for the very first time. Lennon June Glassmeyer was born to the Hunterman's daughter, Sarah Glassmeyer, and her husband, Joe, a healthy 6-pound, 6-ounce, beautiful baby girl. Wow. Thank God above for grandbabies. Ryan, Paula, congratulations. We're so happy for you and your daughter and her husband and everybody. Great stuff. Kiva Sampson going to bat to lead off the Reds' 5th inning. You know, it's always fascinating when you look up this date in baseball history. And here is one that no Reds fan was around for. But certainly there's been a lot written about it through the years. Back in 1954. There are some Reds fans. But you've got to be around for a while to truly remember this. In an effort to not be associated with communists, remember the great Red Scare and Joe McCarthy and all that kind of thing going on around America, the Reds played their first game as the Cincinnati Redlegs on this date in 1954. The new moniker, which is widely accepted, would be employed for 6 seasons before the Reds would revert back to being known as the Reds, which was a shortened version, of course, of the Red Stockings, their original team name. And believe me, if we keep going like we're going here tonight, we might tell you the very history of the United States of America. There's a fly ball in the center field for the 2nd out.
Tom, do you know why they went to that term in the 50s?
Well, because of the association with communists?
Exactly.
Yes.
Nicely done.
Is there a...
There was a...
is there an echo in here?
Is that what you said?
Yes, I did.
I'm sorry.
You're frozen to death down there.
We don't blame you one bit.
We
Jim
don't
Day.
blame you, JD. We know it's cold. I believe me. I hear you. I tell you what, I try to sneak something past Jim Day. You just can't do it. Chris, did you mention, you mentioned about Pete Rose getting his first hit on this date? Did you mention he also got his 4,000th hit on this date?
21 years later.
How about that? Is there an echo in here?
There's actually more than an echo.
It is. It's
a chamber, an echo chamber here. We used to call it a reverb.
That's right. That's before they started making good speakers.
The bang with Fireworks Fridays at the ballpark. Friday, April the 22nd. Cheer on Joey Votto and your Reds when they take on the Cubs for a low $12 per ticket. Plus, stick around after the game for a spectacular fireworks show thanks to Thomas More College. For tickets, call this number, 513-381-REDS, or, of course, get online, reds.com.
Kiva Sampson on the mound. Starting his second inning of work, he allowed 2 runs, couple of hits, 2 walks. We are in the bottom of the 5th inning at Wrigley Field. Game 2 of 3, 1 more to go again tomorrow night. Big crowd on here tonight. It was a much later arriving crowd than we had on Monday night when they had their home opener. With us the other night, they opened the gates for a 7 o'clock game here on Monday at 4:20 in the afternoon, and I'll bet you by about 5 o'clock, bleachers were nearly at capacity. This place was very, very quiet until the 7th inning. Brandon Finnegan, 6 2/3, no hit, no run baseball. Cubs got 2 to pull within 1. As there's another walk. That is 8 walks in the game tonight by Reds pitchers. 3 by Simon, 2 by Straley, 3 by Sampson. And we're only in the 5th.
I think that's 15 walks in this series. And we're not through 2 games. Well, the Cubs are, you know, they are a team that is projected to break the all-time walk percentage record. Now, teams normally walk somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 or 9, 8%, 9% is very high. Well, they're already over 13%. And just based on looking at their individual players and projecting what their stats are going to be for 2016, they feel that, I mean, these people that are writing these kind of stories about that are really looking at the numbers and the players hard. They feel like they're going to just set the all-time record this year. And they certainly are on their way after the first 2 games here with the Reds.
Well, they have started this season, and I mean, let's be honest about it now. I mean, you know, the Angels are not expected to be very good. There are some people that like that team, but that is certainly not a pitching-rich team. Now, they did play the Arizona Diamondbacks, who many believe have an excellent pitching staff. They blew up, you know, Greinke and Miller, the top 2 starters on that team. And now they catch the Reds, a very young team, and especially on the pitching side. Once we get going in the summer and they start facing some of the really good pitching teams in the National League, especially inside this division. Now, maybe not necessarily with Milwaukee, but we know the Cardinals and the Pirates will throw strikes.
Well, you're not going to be a good pitching team unless you throw the ball over the plate.
That's right.
And if you have a problem doing that, and you've got guys coming up from the minor leagues and guys coming off the disabled list ready to pitch, you're going to find yourself on that shuttle.
Two and two the count on Ben Zobrist. And there's strike 3, and Zobrist knew it. Another interesting story this date in baseball history. Now, many of you remember this one. Wasn't all that long ago. 2008. This was a great story. Workers at the new Yankee Stadium site dig up a Boston jersey buried in concrete from the ballpark scheduled to be completed in 2009. It was a tattered David Ortiz jersey, which was later auctioned off to raise money for the Jimmy Fund. It had been buried by a Bronx construction worker, a Red Sox fan, who had hoped to put a hex on the New York Yankees. That was a great story. In the air to Brandon Phillips.
All right, well, I got a follow-up question on that because we talked about that a little bit before the game tonight, in the futility that the Cubs have had in their entire history as a major league team.
Yes.
Do you believe in hexes?
Is that a rhetorical question? No,
I'm wondering. I mean, you brought it up there.
Well, I got to tell you, and there you see, that's after championships. It's been 08 is 8 years since they won their last division title. 71 is 71 years since they last won a National League pennant. 108 the number of years that have passed by since the Cubs last won a World Series. And all I can tell you, Chris, is this. If you work here, as I was fortunate to do so for 6 years, if you are a fan of this franchise, as there are so many great Cub fans all across the country, that have been living and dying with this franchise for their entire lives. I mean, great-grandfathers, grandfathers, sons, grandsons, and I know a number of them. If you don't believe in such things, you start to believe in such things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess so. And is that why they went completely outside the organization to hire a guy like Theo Epstein, whose history is maybe more about numbers and hard science than it would be, baseball feel, for instance?
Or you can make the argument that Theo Epstein, and this will never be said by anybody, but somebody in the very dark halls of Tribune Tower who owned the team when they brought in Theo Epstein, there had to be one decision maker in there that said he ended the misery in Boston. Does he have the mojo? Well, you talk about two of the very best first basemen in all of baseball. Look at the numbers last year. Votto, a much higher batting average, significantly higher on base percentage. Rizzo, a couple of more home runs, 21 more runs batted in, and they went 3-4 in the National League MVP award voting.
I mean, the debate could go on and on, using every different type of statistic that you can conjure up. We showed you the basic ones there. Would you be interested if we showed you a panel tomorrow comparing WAR and weighted runs created and
sure,
things
why
like
not?
that? I mean, heck.
Why not? Whatever you want. Matter of fact, if we're going to do it, we may as well do it tonight. We are in the 6th inning.
Well, we have to find somebody who can do it for us. It may take a day or two.
Well, you can just start giving us the numbers. We have plenty of time. We're in the top of the 6th inning. So if you want to pull up those wins above replacement and all that kind of thing, let's get into it.
I may have to call on my Twitter audience to help me out on that one.
How frequently are you, it's called tweeting, correct? How frequently are you tweeting these days?
A few times a day.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah,
so like when you bounce around during the day, is that when you do it?
I did, for instance, the other day. We went to the art museum and I took a couple of photos. I probably violated all sorts of copyright.
I'm sure it's okay.
But I put a photo of an impressionist of some gentlemen celebrating. And I said, put as our little caption, Reds broadcasters celebrate the Reds winning the first 2 series of the year on the way to, here we are on our way to Chicago. And then when the Reds lost on Monday, I used the second photograph of an impressionist photo that showed 3 or 4 guys drowning their sorrows.
Okay.
And said the broadcasters are taking these losses hard. They got a little bit of run, not much, but a little bit.
A little bit.
Nothing like Jim Day.
So Jim Day is the, would he be considered the Twitter king of the broadcast party, if you will, both television and radio, of our group?
Oh, without a doubt.
Really?
And then I would say on the field, that dude BP, with nearly 1 million Twitter followers, is the guy that puts everybody to shame.
Well, Brandon gets his first hit in 3 at-bats here tonight. He's aboard for Jay Bruce. Jim Day.
Yes, sir.
How frequently are you tweeting per day? As you know, I'm not a Twitter guy, and so I don't know a whole lot about it. But I know that you're on it. And I know that Chris is on it. And obviously, that dude BP. But how many times are you engaging in that on a daily basis?
Not as much as I used to. Just a few times a day.
What's a few? I mean, is that 7? Is that 15?
Some days, yeah. Some days, usually not 15 unless I'm answering questions.
Okay.
Okay. You know, I'd like to talk about, Chris Welsh went to the art museum. Took a couple. Were you talking about that? I'm sorry. Back to you.
And then he went to the Science Museum. That is an incredible place
really
here in Chicago. That one pulled foul. Look out down there. I mean, that is one incredible place. If you and your family at home, or just you, and you've never been to Chicago, or maybe you've been here 15 times, but you've never gone to the Science and Industry Museum, that might be the best museum in America.
It is huge and just loaded with one great exhibit after another. A lot of interactive.
Sure.
So
like you got on what would be considered like an old mine shaft.
Yeah, it was
right?
it was a coal mine, and it was just absolutely fascinating. They put you in an authentic mine shaft and take you down and turn the lights out, and it's rickety, and you get a real feel for how it was to be a miner back in the 20s and 30s. And I found out where a saying was that we use all the time originated. So they go down the mine shaft, and they didn't have any walls, and they're very crowded. I mean, they're getting 40 men in a box that we don't have but 8 or 9 men.
It'll be a double play to end the inning. Please finish.
And it'll be a story for the next inning. It's a long story, but a good one.
The longer the better.
A tease.
It's MLB on FS1, a double dip. The defending AL East champion Blue Jays take on the Red Sox. And then in the NL East, it'll be the Braves and the Marlins, only on FS1. It starts Saturday at 3:30 Eastern on FS1, or watch it live on Fox Sports Go. Alfredo Simon, the first 2/3 of an inning tonight, gave up 5 runs. Dan Straley, 2 1/3, gave up 2. Sampson in 2 innings gives up 2. And now Blake Wood, who's thrown the ball very well early on this year, takes over on the mound. Cubs lead 9-1. They bat at the bottom of the 6th inning. Blake Wood brought in, signing to a major league contract, I beg your pardon. Major league deal. He'll be facing Montero, Soler, and Russell. Reds scored at the top of the 1st inning. The Cubs took advantage of a rare off night by Alfredo Simon, who walked 3 batters, faced 9 hitters in the 1st inning, and gave up 5 runs.
All right, I know there's at least one person out there waiting for the end of this coal mine.
Yes, they are.
So you're going down the shaft, and the shaft, the elevator has no sides to it. There's so many men crammed into it, and if somebody were to push on somebody who was at the edge, he would scrape his arm up against the wall, which would be all, coal, and he would get a rash. And that's where the saying, getting the shaft, originated.
No kidding. And there was another you said that came up there. Another saying we use all the time.
There is. I'll tell you that one off the air, I think.
No. You were telling the story at dinner tonight.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if, they had a place have to go to the bathroom down there.
And you're down 600 feet.
And you're 600 feet. You're not going to go back up because it takes a half an hour ride to go back up and down. So they would sometimes go in a coal car.
Tapper to Suarez, and
nice
he'll
play.
throw out Montero. Nice play indeed.
So before you went in the coal car and did your business, you put a chain down by the wheel of the coal car and the rail to make sure it wouldn't go loose or you go flying recklessly down into the coal mine somewhere. And then a practical joker worker friend of yours would come by and pull this chain out while you were up in the car, and that would be called pulling your chain.
Thus the phrase.
There it is.
How about that? Fascinating.
So it was definitely a worthwhile day. I think a guy that would really enjoy the museum would be the guy on the mound right now. I did see Tim Melville on the day off atop the Hancock Tower.
Well, what a nice kid he is. Jim Day had that beautiful story about the young man Carson, right? Right, Jim? Wasn't that young fella's name?
Indeed, Carson.
And for those of you that weren't with us when Melville made his major league debut at Great American Ballpark 3 days ago, Melville underwent a surgery, a procedure to correct a sunken chest. That's not the medical term, but you know what I'm talking about here. And they insert a steel rod horizontally across your chest, and they remove it a number of years later. We were talking to Tim Prishu, and I were down there talking to him about it. But anyway, he had reached out to a young man who's getting ready to undergo that same procedure at Cincinnati Children's, a young man named Carson. And they touched base long before Melville was going to even know that he would come to the major leagues. Stayed in touch, and then Tim made sure that Carson and his family were able to come to the game last Sunday afternoon. It was a great story. Coming up later on, we'll have our Miller Time moment, as we always do, brought to you by Miller Lite. You know, I got to tell you, listening to you talk about your off day, as the batter is Addison Russell, back up through the middle. And Phillips will get the out at second. No turn to first. 2 away in the inning. And the first thing that came to mind, talking about you at the Art Museum and the Science and Industry Museum and all that kind of thing, was Ferris Bueller's Day Off. One of the great movies of all time.
I'm glad you brought that up. It's about time I watched that again.
I watched it recently with my kids, and they weren't as crazy about it as I was. I told them, "Oh, you got to see it's classic." Well,
it's disappointing when you do that, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll never say it again.
I've stopped doing that.
One of the most fun days I've ever had working in television is when I was doing the Diamondbacks games. And we had an off day here, and our producer, Margarita, wanted to do a spoof on that. We did a 25-minute film, Tom Brenneman's Day Off. And we did all the things that Ferris Bueller did on that day. And it was a lot of fun. That one is it's a fair ball. No, foul ball. Thought that Barnhart had gotten there in time.
I'll tell you, Barnhart plays at 90 miles an hour, 90 going north all the time. I'm not sure how that home plate umpire, Jeff Kellogg, was even able to see where that ball was, because he kind of blocked him with his body right there.
Strike 3 called, and that will end the inning.
Good inning for Wood.
He walked the batter, 1 left. We go to the 7th. All Cubbies so far tonight. Take a look at our game summary presented by Honda. The Reds scored the first run of this game. That was on a sac fly RBI by Jay Bruce to play Billy Hamilton, and things went south thereafter. Alfredo Simon walked 3 batters in a row at one point in the first. He faced 9 hitters and gave up 5 earned runs. He would not survive the first inning for the first time in his major league career. And look, you know, you can sit around and you can talk about You know, how many runs pitchers give up, how many hits pitchers give up. But Brian Price was the one who said it, not you, not me. Brian Price was the one who said in Arizona during spring training, I am not going to tolerate pitchers walking batters. As good as Finnegan was last night, he walked 5. The Reds walked 7 in the game. They have walked 9 batters in 6 innings here tonight. Really, 9 in 5 innings, because in the second inning, Straley had a 1-2-3 inning. Schebler, De Jesus, Barnhart.
I would imagine that Brian Price has found out that walks look a lot worse to a manager than they do to a pitching coach. From a pitching coach's standpoint, you're watching your pitchers walk guys, and you're thinking, all right, these are the adjustments that this pitcher has to make in order to throw strikes. From a manager's standpoint, you're just simply saying, throw strikes.
That ball hit hard by Schebler, really hard. And that baby's up against the ivy, and Schebler can fly. He's already around second and easily into third. Tell you what, that guy can really run.
He really does. I mean, he looks like he runs hard.
But earlier he was in a knee at this run, as you said.
There aren't all that many nights you're going to play here at Wrigley Field where this ball doesn't find its way, at least into the basket.
It'll be fun to watch Schebler as this season goes on. Got a lot of power, great athlete. Hit the ball very hard twice tonight. This will bring in the second Reds run of the game as De Jesus taps out to the shortstop. And that makes it 9-2 Chicago here in the 7th. John Lackey was really roughed up his first start of the season. That was against his longtime team, the Angels. There's a base hit into center field by Barnhart. He gave up 8 hits, 6 runs, 2 home runs in 6 innings. Still got a win out of it because his Cubs have been scoring like crazy. Tyler Holt will come up and bat for Blake Wood. The Reds have Ross Ollendorf throwing in the bullpen. Wood 1 inning, scoreless inning. Walked a batter, struck out a batter. Holt 2 at bats so far this year, looking for his first hit. Two and two on Holt. 1 in, 1 on, 1 out. And that's a swing and a miss, strike 3. 7 strikeouts in the game by Lackey. Well, Reds fans, if you can't watch the games on television, you can now stream Reds games live on your mobile device. You can invite you to go to your app store, download the free Fox Sports Go app. Check out the Reds wherever you go. Night is over for John Lackey. A rock-solid effort by him, per usual. That's why they brought him in here. To pitch just like he did tonight. 2 runs in nearly 7 full frames. We're back in a moment. Yes, John Lackey bringing the energy tonight for his Chicago Cubs. 90 pitches, 1 out shy of 7 full innings, allows 2 earned runs. Reds had a chance to really put a major hurting on Lackey in the very first inning. It's the second time in the last 3 games where the Reds had the bases loaded with nobody out in the first inning. And in both of those situations, against the Pirates on Sunday and against the Cubs here tonight, they scored 1 run total. It was a double play ball on Sunday. Today they had a strikeout, a sac fly, and a ground out. Trevor Cahill taking over on the mound for Lackey. Inning over. Cahill gets a final out in the 7th. They'll stand, stretch, and sing at Wrigley.
Let's get some run.
The golden tones of Chicago Bears cornerback Kyle Fuller, first-round pick out of Virginia Tech in 2014. Good player. Real good player on a lousy ball club. Taking over on the mound for the Reds. And you can tell just by his windup without even looking at the name on his back. The old school windup for Ross Solendorf. Reds are down 9-2. Chicago bats in the bottom of the 7th inning. On opening day, for those of you that weren't with us here opening night, they had a trio of Hall of Famers throw out the first pitch and then came up to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." And Ryan Sandberg, Billy Williams, and pitcher Ferguson Jenkins. You know, we were talking about Ferguson Jenkins being one of the great strike throwers of all time. He broke in originally back in 1965 in Philadelphia. Came to the Cubs in 1966 and became a full-time starter. The next year, when he ripped off seasons, 20 wins, 20 wins, 21, 22, 24, 20, 14, 25 wins by the time he got to the Texas Rangers. Well, we were talking about a guy who threw strikes. In his 19 years in the major leagues, he averaged, wasn't a big strikeout guy, but threw a lot of strikes. He averaged 173 strikeouts a year. Wow. There's a fly ball into left center field, should be the second out of the inning. He averaged 50 walks per year. So how about that ratio? It's not too bad, is it? In his career, he struck out over nearly 3,200 batters and won almost 300 games. Not too bad.
He made you put it in play.
Oh, yeah.
And he pitched, I would believe, Tom, back in the days when he first started, probably on a 4-man rotation.
Well, take it to the bank. That ball driven into left center field by Zobrist, run down out there by Hamilton. A 1-2-3 inning for Mr. Ollendorf. Well done.
Kobe Bryant will play his last game ever, and the Golden State Warriors going for a record 73rd win. There are some NBA fans in that Reds dugout, and if this game ever ends, they'll have their eyes on it.
I think, honestly, I'd probably watch the Golden State game, yeah. I'm seeing a lot of Kobe growing up, and it's something that probably won't ever see again in Golden State. So hopefully I can catch the second half of that game, and hopefully they win.
I mean, that's kind of crazy if you think about it, not even to lose, 10 games in a season. As much of a grind as it is to be locked in and day out. So, knowing how tough it is, I'm rooting for them.
If you love the Warriors, you don't like the Lakers, so it's a real easy decision for me.
Brian Price talking about that decision. Games going on at the same time. His eyes will be locked on the Warriors because he is a Bay Area guy and a lifelong Warriors fan.
Well, Jim Day, how about the story, the video from, I think it was yesterday, right, of Amelia High School's very own and Wright State University's very own pitcher Joe Smith. He beat Curry in a game of pig. Did you see this video yesterday?
I did indeed.
It was unbelievable. It's a routine shot of 3 on the first one. The second to get the letter I, Joe Smith turns around backwards, flips the ball over his head, it goes in the basket. Curry tries it, misses. The third shot, Smith, who is a right-handed pitcher, shoots a 3 left-handed, which Curry now has to do. Curry misses, and he wins the game of pig. That was really cool stuff.
That's outstanding.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember, Trout defeated Green in a game of pig. Trout, by the way, I think everyone was stunned. Mike Trout is only 6'2". There's a base hit in the right field. As soon as he walks in the gym, they have the video on him. He walks over in street clothes, takes one dribble, almost flat-footed, goes up and dunks the ball.
I mean, do you think he can do everything that he does on the baseball field without being just an exceptional athlete who could probably play any sport he wanted?
He probably.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, there are guys that have done it, Bo Jackson,
Sure.
Dion and so on. But there are a lot of other guys that probably could do it if they had the opportunity or if they desired to.
Suarez, one guy who's had a really good night tonight. Suarez has 2 hits, a stolen base, has also drawn a walk. Cubs, by the way, have reached into their bullpen.
Clayton Richard,
veteran left-hander, former starter for many, many years. He got a chance to pitch out of the Cubs bullpen last year and did a nice job. Isn't Richard the guy that used to play quarterback at the University of Michigan? There's a ground ball ashore. This should be a double play. And it is. Make Red American Ballpark your family destination every Sunday. Our next Sunday will be April the 24th when the Cubs are in town. I mean, we have great Sunday ticket offer for the family. You can enjoy live mascot races, face painters. We have games and more. Thanks to College Advantage, all kids 14 and younger get a Reds super themed fathead. Kids love those things. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS. Visit Reds.com. And again, that will be on April the 24th. Dribbled foul by Brandon Phillips. And yes, Clayton Richard, you were just talking about 2 sport guys. He was a baseball player and a football player at the University of Michigan. He was a backup quarterback in 2004. He is a graduate of McCutcheon High School in Lafayette, Indiana. That is the home of Purdue University. And this will end the Reds' 8th. 1 hit, none left. Cubs 9, Reds 2. Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota. Chicago River. All right, let's go back to something you brought up earlier for, as you like to say, the sabermetric studs.
We showed you all the numbers, you know, the RBIs and home runs and batting average and so on. The other way to measure these guys is to use some sabermetric formulas like WRC plus, which is runs created plus. And that's simply a formula that defines a batter. You know, how good are you as a hitter? And it takes 6 different effects that you have, and it puts in the league effect, it puts in the ballpark in which you play, and also across generations. So if you want to compare Willie Mays to Bryce Harper, WRC plus is the number that you use for that.
Let me interrupt you real quick, if you don't mind, because you know there are a lot of people out there that love baseball, follow baseball. They may not understand some of these numbers. And one thing I always like to ask when people start giving sabermetric numbers, we just put up there Votto 172, Rizzo 145. What would be the major league average?
Well, that's a good question. I would say somewhere probably in the 130s. Okay. Baseline, maybe even less than that. We're showing you 2 of the top guys there.
Okay. So probably lower than that.
Yeah. And then the other one is that you hear more is WAR, which is simply.
It's an acronym for go ahead. Wins above replacement.
Wins above replacement. So if you have a guy on your team like Anthony Rizzo, and he gets hurt and he's gone for the rest of the year, and you have to replace him with what you think is an average player off the bench, and he plays first base the rest of the year, how much do you lose by not having Rizzo on your team or Joey Votto on your team? So these are the number of wins that they estimate. And it's not a number where you're trying to show where this player is right now, but it's an overall value of this player. So last year, for instance, Bryce Harper had the highest WAR of anybody in baseball at 9.1. Wins above replacement, 9.5 wins over replacement. And Joey Votto had 7.5 or close to it, and Anthony Rizzo at 5.5. So, you know, there's a lot of different ways to cut it, but you got to give Joey Votto the nod, at least at this point in his career, based on what he did last year, when you compare him by WAR. And I can tell you that there are people in this ballpark who are working for both of our ball clubs here that are playing, the Cubs and the Reds, who know far more about every one of those formulas than we will ever know.
Oh, sure.
And they're breaking them down really not only to get a value of what they are and what they would be on the open market if they were to be a free agent, or what they should get in return in case of a trade, but also how to evaluate younger players that are in the minor leagues. You know, how does a guy in A-ball compare to the rest of his league? Based on where he plays, it is a league in which he hit a lot of home runs, or it's a pitching league. All those kind of things come into play.
Well, the other part about it, correct me if I'm wrong here, because I you know, as you know, I know I need to learn a little bit more about some of this thing and pay a little bit more attention to it, probably. But the thing about WAR is that, you know, you're not only accounting for hitting ability, but also defensive ability and base running.
Correct.
And then adding, as you referenced, the positional adjustment to reflect the value of playing a more difficult or skilled position or that kind of thing. You can do it for pitchers.
It's the overall look at a player a little bit more complete. The WRC Plus is more as a hitter. They take a lot of different types of runs, you know, batter runs,
sure,
and so on, fielding runs.
And obviously, the more wins that a player is worth, the better that player is.
Yeah, and it's never really good to just use one style of measurement to measure your player. But this is what most sabermetric formulas are trying to get. Say, well, who's the best defensive player, and who's the best offensive player, and then who's the best player overall. And ultimately, you want to get to this formula that it's easy to see how they get to, but it gives you a snapshot instantly of where this player ranks compared to everybody else. And that's why, so, you know, hey, you know what, back in the day, batting average was a sabermetric statistic. I mean, you know, it had to be invented at some point, right?
Sure. There's no doubt about it. Our Volkswagen drive of the game, the first home run of this season, and there will be a lot more coming, of course, for Chris Bryant. I'll tell you one interesting note, though, about Bryant. Of his 27 career home runs, and this guy has incredible power. I mean, he could hit a home run out of a state park. Yet all but 5 of his first 27 career home runs have come here at Wrigley Field. I find that, I don't know if you do, as really quite a surprise. Not that he would have more at home, obviously, but the fact that it's so overwhelmingly the majority at home. And there's a walk. And the Reds have hit double digits in walks allowed tonight.
Well, not only that, they've spread them out very consistently. They've walked at least one batter in every inning except the second inning. And that was a 1-2-3 inning by Dan Straley.
You see that look right there by Brian Price. That pretty much says it all. It was almost as if he was reacting to what we just said. Like, wow. Well, the Cardinals jumped out in front early on of the Milwaukee Brewers, leading 3-1 at the end of an inning. And the Brewers have just gotten it rolling ever since. Tied the game at 2, went up 4-2. Cardinals got it 4-3. But the Brewers just scored twice in the top of the 9th inning. Cardinals bat in the bottom of the 9th inning with Milwaukee in front there. The Baltimore Orioles lost for the first time tonight, falling to Boston 4-2 after a 7-0 start. Tell you, the team playing well right now is the team on the northern end of the Buckeye State. I mean, the Reds, lost tonight, still 5-3. And Cleveland had started well, and then all of a sudden now they are trying to end a losing streak, which they do tonight. Very high expectations for the Indians. They have just had brutal weather. And we're so thankful to get out of that American League Central to start the year, or up north anyway, central part of the country, and get down to Tampa Bay. Montero gone swinging. Another night game tomorrow night, so we invite you to join us 30 minutes before the start of it. For Reds Live on Fox Sports Ohio, it's presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Well, here's a guy the Reds have been able to count on through the first 2 starts of this year. And he'll be towing the rubber tomorrow night. That's Rysel. You've got to go all the way back to 2004, September the 27th. The last time the Reds walked 10 batters in a game here at Wrigley Field. The starter on that day for the Cubs was Brandon Clausen. Caesar pops it up in the foul ground, and the inning is over. Reds will bat in the ninth. They trail the Cubs 9-2.
Tickets to the next Super Saturday at the ballpark. That's April the 23rd. Thanks to John Morrell, the first 25,000 fans receive a Votomatic Super Bobblehead. For tickets to see your Red Legs take on the Cubs for as low as $12, this is the number, 513-381-REDS, or of course visit Reds.com. Do it today.
Do it today is right. Reds will be coming home on Monday, taking on the Colorado Rockies. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday afternoon, and the Cubbies Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of next weekend. And now the Reds get a look at left-hander Neil Ramirez, last pitching on Sunday when they made it 3 out of 4, defeating Shelby Miller and the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Ramirez had a really good rookie year. It was back in 2014, and then was injured last year, only pitched in 19 ball games. Had some shoulder problems last year, abdominal problems. They expect a lot out of this young guy.
Jay Bruce, first pitch swinging, pops it up. And that's one pitch and one out here in the Reds' 9th inning. A game where the first inning went nearly 1 hour long. Reds Live, the post-game version, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. We'll break it all down immediately following the conclusion of this one. Jeff Pecoro, Brian Giesenslaw, Jim Day, Chris Welsh and company. Had a chance to meet the entire Giesenslaw clan last night. His son's team gave our knothole team a pretty good fanny whacking yesterday. And Brian's son was playing, and boy, what a great family. So nice, 3 kids. And it was really enjoyable getting a chance to say hello to the entire family last night.
That's great. I'm glad you guys got the game in. You played up at Little Crossley.
Yeah, it was cool up there, man. That's a beautiful facility up in Blue Ash. Of course, the kids were warming up on the old Crossley field. Are we playing here? No. Knocked up in the foul ground, and the Reds were down there finally. Of course, I felt kind of bad for our guys who had not practiced since the week before Easter. Wow. And it looked like it. Brian's team, they got a good team. They've been together a long time. Grew up out of Sycamore. Nice guy to coach, too. I think his last name is Gibson. Nice guy. Foul ground. Rizzo just out of his reach. Richard goes an inning, allows a hit. And now Ramirez trying to get the final 3 outs and make John Lackey a winner for the second time in as many starts. The loss would go to Alfredo. Jesus 0 for 3, knocked in a run with a ground out in the 7th inning. Told you Raisel Iglesias on the mound tomorrow night for the Reds, going for his second win. He'll be opposed by right-hander Jason Hamel. It's on to St. Louis Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That'll cap off what is the 4th time in the last 3 years where the Reds played an entire series under the lights here at Wrigley Field. That is by far more than any other franchise serving as the Cubs opposition here on their home turf. And night baseball has not been kind to the Reds here the last couple of years. Remember, they dominated the Cubs for about 5 years. I mean, they just rolled the ball out there, and the Reds were going to win the game. But that began to change at the end of 14, carried into 15. And the loss tonight, the Reds would be 4-12. Losers of 6 out of their last 7 of their last 8 under the lights here at Wrigley Field. Jesus draws a 2-out walk. "14 walks have been issued in this game here tonight. Tucker Barnard's drawn one of those. He also has a hit. One of two, has been on base twice. Jesus takes off the second, and Barnhart down a strike. Ought to tie a Redmond around this one, and it will. Reds scored the first run of the game. The Cubs scored the next 9 before the Reds got one back. A 9-2 Chicago victory. We're back in a moment.